Yo,
Yo.
what up, man? Welcome to my Neverland recreation behind me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I saw most of the things that were in your photo shoot, and I was like, I think I have a lot of these
I
things.
have a good chunk of this.
Yeah. So
That's great.
minus
Sorry
the
I'm
fame,
late, cuz.
minus the famous rapper thing, like I have some of your stuff at least.
You're basically there.
Yeah, I wore a Rocco shirt because
Oh, that's
I didn't have a
great.
Ren and Stimpy, but I had I had this. I don't know if you can really see it.
Oh, that's great. That's
So
great. Truly.
yeah, man. So I had to try to bring out. I mean, last time we had a really dope conversation where we spoke about all the food, the hidden food references that maybe people didn't get. So now I want to dive into some of the stuff behind me or
Okay.
behind your photo shoot, and I want to see if they're just there or there's a reason. And I feel like there's always a reason for
Always.
everything.
Fact.
Actually, well, sorry. How are you? Good,
I'm
good to
good.
good to
I'm
see you again.
fantastic. I've been doing interviews all day, so we knocking them out today, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's dope, man. So I hope this one is a lot of fun. I even put on this is my little league baseball hat from when I was 14. It's the only hat I had that would match this shirt. So we going, man. Um, all right, man. So first and foremost, whose room is that in the photo shoot? And is all of that your actual stuff?
Yeah, that's my godson, Josiah. It's actually his room. They let me use it. And then we recreated it and moved things around to make it a little closer to like one of my bedrooms as a kid. Um, Most of that stuff in there is mine. Some of it was his. I mixed in a little bit of his stuff, but a majority of it, like the details of that, were for sure all belong to me.
Okay, the Elmo was yours too.
The Elmo, that's actually a Cause Elmo. So I got the Cause Elmo, Cookie Monster, and the Big Bird. You know, he did a drop with I think Uniqlo or somebody. So
Okay,
yeah, it's
that
not it's not the Tickle Me Elmo joint. It's
that's the tickle me. That's my son's. So
okay.
this is the closest my son's ever been to being involved with an interview. Um,
Fantastic.
um, all right. So looking through all the shoots, I was trying to find what the baseball cards were open to in the binder, what team. And I found one, I think it was like a one sheet, and you're laying back and the cards are behind you, and it's open to the Astros, the Don Russ pack, the yellow cards.
Yeah.
I got them back there. That's all the
Wow.
Astros. Was
Yep.
that on purpose?
It wasn't on purpose. We just flipped open the book. I actually had a lot of NBA cards as a kid. I did have some baseball stuff, but I think when you're a kid, the collecting process is more about just like I just want to have a new pack of cards to open. So and you're also not picky because you don't have a lot of money. So you're just like, give me whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I actually had a whole bunch of cards. I also had certain cards that I thought were like really nice or players I really liked.
Yeah.
Vince Carter, Anthony Hardaway, Michael Jordan, whatever. And I would put them in like these thick cases, thick
Yeah.
plastic
The
cases
hard
with like a little
plastic.
screw in them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't find those. They're long gone. They're probably worth $1 million by now. What are you gonna do?
Those are in my attic. Those did not make the shoot. But yeah, man, I feel you in not having the money. I remember going to the comic book store every day after school to buy one sheet of plastic for cards for like 25 cents. And they're like, why don't you just buy a bunch? And I'm like, I'm using my lunch money every day. Every
Right.
day I like to eat too. So every day I only have like 25 cents left. I got to buy one sheet a day as I
Yep.
was getting my cards together, man. I feel it. All right. The other thing I saw was a CD binder. I think I recognized one CD, and I hope this is it. Was it the Linkin Park Reanimation CD? Was that one of the CDs in your binder?
It was not.
It was orange
It
though.
might have been. It might have been in that binder somewhere, but that wasn't the one. It wasn't in my real binder as a kid.
Okay.
Um,
I saw an orange CD. I was like, oh, this has got to be it. It's not.
Nah, it wasn't that. I was wondering maybe they put Neverland in there. The first Neverland had an orange cover.
Oh,
But I don't know. I can't remember actually. You know, some of that stuff was also my buddy Matthew Warren. He's the photographer. He
okay.
brought some of his childhood stuff.
You did a
He
great
let me
job.
bring that too. So we kind of amalgamated it to kind of just be like the essence of, 10-year-old Andy.
Okay. So now specific things that are in there. We said Elmo. We have Ren from Ren and Stimpy. Raphael. I have Donatello over here and up there with Elmo. Was the Andy stuff box, was that a Toy Story nod? Or was that just you had a box of Andy stuff?
Nah, it was actually when we were shooting that video, that was a box of Matthew's stuff. And I looked at the box and it said Matt's stuff on the
Yeah.
box. And it was not ironic. It was like
Yeah.
really that's what was written on it. I was like, yo, that's hilarious. Like, because you know what I'm saying? You're as a
Yeah.
kid, you're like, this is my stuff. No specifics about what's in there. It's just a bunch of your crap. And I was like, I would totally do that. So we turned the box around and I put Andy's stuff on it, and it it kind of played into the whole photo shoot theme. But I know there is a big a box in the what's it called? That movie, Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
shout out Toy Story. Shout out the real Andy.
So all that stuff in your room basically is representing that childlikeness that you're, trying to recapture, right? Being the lost boy and all of that.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, childhood, some of the most pure years because, I think at a certain age you start to put on a bit of a character or a protection layer. But there's like some of those sweet spots, and like 6 years old is such a sweet spot where you can fully communicate, but you're not so self-aware that you're hiding parts of who you are or trying to disguise anything. I think when you start to get about 10 years old, you start to get maybe too cool for things, But just always trying to, that's been a theme of my music, trying to recapture that wonder of childlikeness.
Yeah.
Before the world gets so crazy and it hardens you and makes you cynical, like trying to hold on to that hopeful, beautiful version of yourself that could express and be open and free and vulnerable and excited and have your feelings. All that is like peak.
I feel like as I'm rummaging through this stuff too, I'm like, yo, I really like this stuff. And I'm so glad that I still have it and that I could revisit my childhood anytime I want. And now I can give that stuff to my kids, which drives me crazy because they're not careful. And it's like, I'm a grown man and, my son's grabbing an action figure, he's bending the head. I'm like, yo, you got to relax. This thing's like 30 years old.
Right.
It made it through my whole childhood. You can't break it in the first 5 minutes of me giving it to you.
Yeah. And then you're like, how did I have it and not break it?
Yeah. Well, we were a different breed. I'm also very upset.
Toys were made different.
They are. Now they have so many parts that they just break easier. Yeah, I got a couple up there, but all right, so let's talk about this album. One of my favorite things, I think, one of the favorite things I ever heard you do was this opening track. Just the MI. So I need to know, first off, where are the samples from that are in there? The part, I think it says 20 stories high. And then even the boy that's talking throughout the whole album, Don't Forget Me, and in Falling and in other tracks. Yeah. Where is that from?
So there was a handful of VHS tapes from when I was a kid doing backyard wrestling. And so you guys got to see some of the wrestling videos from when I was a kid, when I announced the tour, the fall tour. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of those videos, and all of my buddies were in there. And so you hear them talking throughout the album, the little cutbacks. Tag team champions of the world, or he's up 20 stories high.
Yeah.
When I would jump off of a slide and body slam somebody, or shooting star, or whatever I was doing. So that was my boy Billy. And then the little kids talking throughout the album, those are actually my nephews. So my nephews did the handwriting for the track list. And then they did the voiceovers where they, are talking on the album, the little kid voices. And I basically sent a list of things to my sister, like have them say these things.
Yeah.
She held out her iPhone and you can hear her in the back, say this now, say this, try it. And so she sent me all those files and I chopped them up off the iPhone and I turned them into little clips for the album.
It's dope.
Obviously I got my mother narrating like the whole album. So
yeah,
that. It's cool, man. I think it's a cool project. It's very nostalgic and it's interesting that I was even able to pull from people in my own bloodline that are kids. So it kind of kept the album cover is actually shot in my godson's bedroom. So he's not, blood, but he's like blood.
Yeah.
Kept the kids involved were like directly connected to me.
The other thing I love about this song is you opened up like this choir, like this chorus of people. So like, who were those people singing? And did you have that vision in your head? Like, did it come out how you wanted to sound? Like, how was that arrangement?
So that record is actually an amalgamation of a couple ideas. When I was working on Magic and Bird, Ty Shane, or who y'all know as Beam was in the studio with me, and we were working on records, and he showed me that intro. He was like, yo, I just worked on this intro with this other kid, Gabriel, and he was trying to use it for his album, and he hasn't figured out a way to use it. And I was like, yo, that's amazing. Let me, give it to me. And it had a different beat on it and everything. And I actually, around that time, like a year later, that's when Justin Bieber tweeted out my song or whatever. And him and I started talking. And I was thinking, I was like, yo, I should put Bieber on this song. Am I falling from this? I was that chorus part. And then, because he, at that time, he was like, yo, if you need something from me, let me know. And I was like, I do. I just don't know what song I'd put you on. And I never really figured it out. And by the time I thought of some ideas, it was like the relationship was no longer really there. I mean, every once in a while, it'd be like a like on a picture or something. But at that point, he was excited about my music. So
you're going to win him back. You're going to win him back with this one.
Who knows, bro? I just, whatever. It's all good.
This Justin knows. Just knowing Justin's, you're gonna win him back.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was gonna put him on that, and I was like, people were like, I don't think that's the right song. So I was like, whatever. So we held on to the song, and I couldn't figure out how to rap over the beat once the beat dropped.
Yeah.
Because I tried a million different flows, nothing felt right. So then, when it was time to finish this album, I was like, yo, I still need an intro. So I went back from 2017 and found this intro. And I actually took it and I sampled it and I made the beat on the second half. And once I made the beat and changed the 808 and everything, that's really when all the flows and ideas started coming. I was like, all right, I cracked the code, So that's how that came together. It was Ty Shane, Gabriel, Genre. There's actually a girl, Hadar. They were all kind of working on that, came up with the ideas, and then I kind of just freaked it, added my raps, added some beat stuff with Ty Shane, and we created what I think is one of the most epic intros of all time.
Yeah, man.
But who am I?
I agree that na 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 na, like that part, I could have listened to 5 more minutes of that, and then you just cut it, and I was like, oh, I get it though. I get it. You got to let it go. But then it gets revisited in Falling, which is dope. So one of the things, when did you, since Neverland mirrors your life, when did you go from the realization where you're asking, am I falling, to then acknowledging I am falling?
That's actually a good question.
Thanks.
I don't know if there's a time frame I could give you specifically, an exact time, oh, this is what's happening. But I think a period of time where I was just beginning to experience real self-acceptance and or just not self-acceptance, acceptance in general. Self-acceptance is a part of that. But the acceptance of things that I believe, maybe I no longer believe. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Yeah. People that I had hope in, I no longer have hope in, and that's okay. I think that process has been helpful for me, because I think when you're young, you're so idealistic about Christianity and faith and whatever that your ideals are, whatever they may be. You're so idealistic that you haven't been punched in the face enough to know that things don't work out always as clean as you think they will. And I think with age has been some of the acceptance of the brokenness of the world I live in, and that everything's a little messier than you think. Not everything is so clean cut, you know? And that is the acceptance of falling. Like, I realized like I'm not even the person that I thought I was, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that like self-righteous spirit that I had at one point of time, thinking I had all the answers and was right about everything. Like now I'm able to look back and be like, even that, yeah, that person was wrong too. And it's okay. You know? For me, I think that acceptance of falling or like just not having things together is a beautiful part of the journey. To like, when you know you're wrong or you know when you're out of bounds, like then you can try to change and grow and fix things. But until you have that level of like self-awareness, I think it's hard to really grow as a person. And yeah, I'm kind of talking in circles, but
No,
I don't know
I
if
get
that
it.
makes sense.
No, I get it. I get it. And again, I'm going to shout out my boy Eli. This was his contribution. This question particularly, he says, in that track, you reference the arrow, the sword, the key, the feather. We even get happy thoughts, all of which were the elements of the original Neverland project.
That's right.
And the last time you and I spoke, I asked you if the plan was to release 2 more EPs titled The Key and The Feather. So what, is that still part of the plan, or does Neverland 2 kind of like clean slate that? What's going on?
Yeah. Originally I wanted these body of songs to be the 2 EPs that came out together.
Yeah.
And we haven't broken it up that way yet. So we decided like, I think it's time for a full length. And we may end up going on the backside, organizing them into all the elements so that it collectively makes one body of work. But right now we were just like, this is this body of work. These are these songs for this. Let's drop it. I think people need a full length album,
We did.
Let's do it this way, and we'll deal with the storytelling, we'll come back around to it to complete it for people. But yeah, I would love to complete that series to tie a bow on it for me.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing concerning your albums, on the drill, you mentioned that you might drop a part 2, no announcement. Back in 2018, you did an interview with Amazon Music. You mentioned Neverland being a trilogy of projects.
Yeah.
With Neverland 3 was never been mentioned because obviously 2 just came out. Could there be a work in progress 2, a Magic and Bird 2, a collab project with Lecrae coming? Because I know on Ruslan, you said you guys did a lot more than the one track that you guys did together. So, how, or are you just trying to make something completely different moving forward? Like, how do you bounce around all these different ideas for projects?
Yeah. None of those projects are like off the table for real. It's like, it's a time and capacity and timing kind of thing. But I'd love Neverland to be a trilogy. And then the other part of me that loves to do like new and exciting things is like, man, move on.
Right. Right.
So we'll see, let's just let Neverland 2 come out and see if anybody likes it and wants more. The other part is work in progress part 2 would actually be really dope, because I got so many songs that didn't make this album. I'm like, you know what? That was a really cool way to take those songs that didn't find projects and still was able to put them out and tell a cool story and let people journey with me. So we've been thinking a lot about, do we put these songs on a deluxe, or do we save it for a work in progress part 2? Like, what do we do? So that could potentially happen. Magic and Bird, like that's always my boy, and we always creating, and you never know. I mean, we put Magic to Bird and Bird together like pretty quickly. So You know, that might be a couple weekends hanging out together and just get some inspiration. But you know, it's about timing, really. That's the thing. Timing and like what else is going on. You know, we planning on another Christmas show this
Yeah.
Christmas, and it's a lot of time and energy that's got to go into that. You know, this album and touring it. So only 12 months in the year, man. We gotta figure out how to do it all.
Yeah, man, I'm a little sad we didn't get that New York date that you just cut it today. I was gonna talk to you about it, and then like right as I was getting ready for this, I saw the tweet or the post, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, we essentially had to trim down the number of dates on the tour to try to make it a little safer for everybody.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it was crazy because like we started figuring some things out. Not only if people get COVID, you know, they can go home and stay in their house and in their bed. You know, they assume the risk when they come out. But if someone on my team gets sick, there's an additional layer of complications that kick in where they can't get on the tour bus and they can't be flown home. So they got to stay in whatever city they were in and be put up for 10 days, you know, be paid per diem. And then someone new to take their spot and learn the show. And, you know, that could happen to your whole crew because vaccines don't necessarily stop this Delta variant. So at that point, it just got very clear to everybody, like, this is more tricky than we could have ever imagined.
Uh-huh.
So I think we need to just shrink it down, just hit a few cities because we still want to touch the fans, but we can't be out there for 6 weeks going across the country. You know, it's just not safe.
I'll catch you on the comeback. But all right, let's change the pace a little bit. I've seen the Been About It music video. I feel like Dust was the perfect guy to capture the aesthetic of that. But my question mainly is, whose idea was it to have Lecrae's shirt off almost every single scene? Was that his idea?
No, he didn't want any of that. You know, he didn't eat bread for 2 weeks to be a part of that. So it just, you know, when you're recapturing iconic album covers, a lot of them are shirtless, and he just kind of fit the bill. It's like, hey, these are gonna be for you, man. Because no one wants to see me with my shirt off. I'll tell you that right now. Because a bad look.
Well, ramen and rhyming, you know, that's the life.
Too much ramen.
Yeah, but anyway, that video was dope. I can't wait to see what sort of responses were in there. And it's, you know, it's always fun trying to figure out like, oh, what album is this? And then seeing how you tweak it, even with the Eminem show, you like pop out from behind the curtain and everything.
Yeah.
Like it was super cool, man. So anyway, I mentioned it before, and I'm gonna needle you a little bit. Lecrae collab tape. Is we gonna do that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we Been About It came, like, me and him got in the studio for like 3 weeks in a row. Every Tuesday morning we would get together and just do a couple hours and just see what came out, because we know, like, there's one part of the creative process is more than just like, we're gonna make an album. A lot of times it's like, let's just get in the studio and start bouncing ideas off each other. Because even if nothing comes out of it, he might learn something from me. I might learn something from him that he's going to take into his album, and I'll take into, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes ideas are created. You don't really know what you're going to leave the studio with. And so we were like, let's just get in. We're both here. We're in Atlanta. Let's lock in, figure out, like, is there chemistry? Is there not? Whatever. Him and I got crazy chemistry in the studio because we're built different. He's more a Jay-Z. I'm more of a Kanye. Like, I care about the art. He cares more about the commerce. So we make as good amalgamation of songs. We got in for 3 weeks and we did like 3 songs. And we were originally going to start piecing them together and be like, maybe we could have our own project or tape and start playing with some ideas. But then I was like, yo, I got to finish my album. Like, I can't switch gears. Like, I got to fall through it. So I said, let me take this one song and put it on my project. And then let's come back to the other records and, like, maybe we'll put them out on yours or Church Clothes or something else. So, you know, I think we got to keep getting back in the studio because we love creating together. But for real, what it comes down to is like spending time there and then seeing what product comes out. You know, you can go in and be like, we're making an album, and then you get in and it's like 5 duds in a row. Like, we got no album. But I would love to see that happen at some point eventually.
Yeah, considering, you know, Lecrae is retiring, you know, you'd have a nice project to send him off into the sunset.
Sure.
So one of the things.
But I'll tell you this.
Go ahead.
Here's the funny part. Since 2014, I was telling him, yo, I think we need to do a joint project. And I was telling him, I was like, yo, let's do it. Let's do it. And he just gave me the whole, like, I'm hot right now. I don't really want to do it. You know, he was on a different wavelength at that time. And I was like, nah, I'm telling you, bro, like, I really think this would be crazy. And he just kept on shooing me off and shooing me off. And so that's funny, like 6 years later or something, he's like, yo, let's do the joint project. And I'm like, I'm working on my album.
Then you shoot him off.
It's just all switches. It's funny. But I still would love to do it because he's an incredible rapper and I get a lot of energy when we're in the studio together.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, one of the things, obviously you just dropped the new single last night, Nobody's Coming. Now, do you remember what your mom said? Like, do you remember actually wanting to pray for a new father?
I actually don't remember that because I was so young.
Mm-hmm.
But her telling that story, like, I remember that house we lived in. We were living in a shelter. Once we left my dad from his house, she had nowhere to go, and we stayed in this like ran down ghetto shelter where there was like needles outside and stuff. It was crazy, like downtown Syracuse. It was like a safe home type thing. So I remember being there, and I remember the bed that was on the floor, the mattress that was on the floor. But I don't remember that specific moment, you know.
How old were you?
Ooh, like 3.
Oh, wow.
Real young.
Yeah, so that's back. But I'm sure you, like, remembering that scene, though, is something that will stay with the 3-year-old rather than a specific conversation, for sure.
For sure. For sure. Just being in that house, and my mom tells another story where I was just like, she said, I said something like, I want to go back to the house with the orange walls, you know, because there was a bathroom that, you know, that had orange walls, and I remembered it. And I was just like sitting there swinging my little legs from the high chair, just kind of hand on my chest, you know, on my head. Just, I want to go back to that house. And we couldn't. And I remember she was saying just that like broke her heart, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. One of the things that we also spoke about last time is kind of maybe not necessarily your fears or concerns or even a little bit of reluctance on wanting to become a father. So how does the realization of I might just have to be what I never had for me and Nobody's Coming maybe like cured those fears or kind of helped you out in saying, hey, I can be a father. I never had a father, but I can be one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm like fearless about being a father, you know, and
you shouldn't be.
I'm not pregnant or nothing. Huh?
You shouldn't be. It's very scary.
Yeah, like I don't feel like, oh, I'm ready. But I just think that's something that a lot of people get. It's like, oh, if I didn't have it, I'm gonna have to try to be that for just try to be what I didn't have for other people. And you know, I think that's gonna make me a good father when it's time.
And Cross My Heart, you say, took a pandemic just to make that FaceTime call. Probably should have made last fall. Didn't yesterday. I say I'll do that tomorrow. That's an everyday thought. That really, really resonated with me because just a couple of weeks ago, I put out a tweet like that. That was basically like, you know, before I even heard the song, make that how you doing text that you keep saying that you're going to make every day. And literally the day after I made that tweet, a friend of mine from college who I hadn't spoken to in years died. So like, that was like a huge kind of like wake up call for me where now like almost every week I make like a list of people that I'll be like, hey, I haven't, you know, spoken to this person in a long time. You know, let's check up on them. You know, how are they doing? So for you, like just that's kind of like a everyday sort of thought. how do these everyday thoughts or these concerns become like these relatable lines in songs for you? Like, how do you come up with that idea and be like, I'm going to drop that in a song?
Honestly, I wish some of the lyrics that I came up with, like I would be able to take more credit for, like as far as like, oh, I geniusly like put them together. A lot of times the lyrics like that one are just a stream of thought, like a first line that's a stream of thought, and then somewhere, like honestly, I don't know how this happens in my brain, but like another thought that rhymes with it will just build on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the next line will come and the next line will come. And before you know it, a full verse is done. And there's like little gems inside of there. Cause I think those ideas are rolling around in my head and they're just looking for a time to come out.
Yeah.
But that's like the creative process for me is it's like, just get started. And I was like, all right, what's a thing I'm thinking and feeling right now? Damn, it took a world emergency, like a pandemic for me to like pray again. And I was like, that's an interesting thought. I bet other people have felt that. And once you do that, like the next part comes. So, but there are times when I have like a lyric, like a thought. I'm like, this needs to be said. This is important. And then I'll keep that as the fourth line, and then I'll build the rest of the verse backwards, basically, to build up to that moment. But a lot of my music, the way I write, particularly now, is a stream of consciousness where I don't even write. Like there's nowhere that verse exists on paper because I just sat in front of the mic and just started flowing and then punching in and just building on top of it. That's how a majority of my music is made now. I don't actually write anymore. I just kind of freestyle and think on the spot and record it.
And then you tweak it to make it make sense.
Yeah. And I've been doing that since like probably 2016. I started doing that. 2017, Magic and Bird.
Like you would think you'd notice that maybe your music lyrically might get worse, but for you, it's like you've uncovered a whole new layer. And you're like, oh, I guess that's why Jay-Z does this. Like that's why he's so good. Like,
and it wasn't even to try to mimic Jay-Z.
Yeah, right.
Just like,
but
that's
he's someone who does that.
Trajectory of someone who does it a lot is like, this is actually faster to get my thoughts out this way than to write. Because it's almost like when you're starting out, like you need framework to help you figure out. And then once you know it, you're like, all right, I can get rid of that and just go. Like I might not need the paper that got the grids on it anymore to draw a straight line because I'm so good at drawing a straight line. You can get rid of that and I'll paint. Now I'll break the rules a little bit, But at first, writing is that like, I want to remember my lyric. I want to make sure this word rhymes with this. So I think it's just kind of a natural evolution. And a lot of these guys, especially like the trap rappers, like they've never written, but they're not focused on.
You could tell a lot.
Yeah, I think it's different when you're what you're saying is you're a person who cares about lyrics and you still don't write them down.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing. If you don't care about lyrics, you just rhyming and saying things, then obviously that makes more sense. So I guess, it is strange, but I don't know. It's the format right now, but it's
working.
I don't know. Like, this stuff changes every few years. You get inspired, or like I sit down to record now. I never stand up. Put the mic right here while I'm sitting and I talk. And I think that's why my tone has also come down. I used to be up here, real loud, aggressive, and I was standing up. And now I'm just like, all right, we done with that. I'm sitting, I'm talking to you. So the tone has changed.
Yeah, it's more conversational.
Absolutely.
What you just did there actually just came to my head. That seems like a reverse of what Eminem did, where when he first started, he was just like talking and it was like offbeat. Now he just yells at you. So maybe now Eminem is actually standing up in the booth and rapping, whereas before he sat down, he flipped it. So, and the drill, I got the lyrics. I noticed you changed a line in it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? And why did you make the change?
There was a line that I changed basically because I said something about somebody, about a person. And afterwards I thought about it and I was like, you know what? That probably isn't helpful. because I certain people name drop as a career, like calling card. Like, this is who I am. I start beefs and whatever. And it's like, if I name drop, like I'm trying to communicate an idea or something, And I just, I started thinking to myself, because I name dropped a few people like in this album and other things that I've just, MPJ even, where I was like, I don't even know how I feel about this. Months later, you're like, you kind of cement these people in records, and you start to think to yourself like, I wouldn't like that if that was me, or that's not kind or whatever. But at the same time, you're like, but it's true, So I wrestle with that, but I went back and changed the line because I think I just don't think it's helpful. That's all.
So do you feel like that, like this on wax type of therapy that you've been putting out with these projects with your audience for this, like this whole Neverland portion of your career is like the majority of your career? Yeah. Do you feel like it's helped alleviate some of those things that, you've struggled through and have had to get out? And if so, like, what's the next closet you need to clean out? The next demon you got to exercise, like the stone that needs to be overturned in the life of Andy Mineo?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Life hands you different things at different stages, and you know what I mean? Like death of my mother, having a kid, it might be another season of life where I'm uncovering new things and discovering. I don't know, but I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. I just what I know is every song and every album has been a way for me to process and think through things and be vulnerable and share basically what I call like survival information. Like, I lived through this and I learned some things and I'm going to tell y'all about it. And it seems to help other people as well. So whatever life throws at me, I'm sure I'll find a creative way to deconstruct it and share the lessons that I've gotten from it, no matter what it is. And that's the other thing, is like, what demon or what thing do you got to uncover? It's like, there's always one around the corner. So I don't know, but
you might lift your hat. You might lift your hat and find one. There's just so many lines on this project that like kind of hit me, that resonated. And another one, and we don't even have to get into it because I know that could be like a 40-minute conversation, but you say, Jesus saved me from Christians. And I understood what that meant as soon as I heard it, as a person who has been in church since they're 5 years old. And then hearing the conversation that you were having with Ruslan and some of the things that you were saying. And I was like, man, I get that. I get being tired of the worship music. I get being uncomfortable around super churchy people. I get going through the comments and getting hammered by Christians on Rapzilla articles that we post. Save me from the Christians. I get it. So yeah, man. So fantastic project through and through. I appreciate you for just making it and taking the time out to talk to me about it and indulging my fake Neverland set.
I love it.
It's unfortunate you won't.
Together.
Yeah, man. It's unfortunate you won't be in New York, but I guess I'll catch you the next time.
Absolutely, bro. I hope to see you and have a slice with you.
Yes, or some artichoke.
You already know, some caciofle.
Okay.
All right, much love, brother. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Peace.